I didn't want to work for a company that I wasn't in tune and in sync with as far as the guys who were telling me what to do. Shake Shack, In-N-Out, Hop Dottie, Zen Burger, all these huge companies. What's the difference between the guys that started those companies and me? If you take one step towards something that you really truly believe in, the universe will take 2 steps back towards you. To lose a child, it takes every ounce of strength you have to continue to go through life every day and to wake up every day and to be there for your other kids and to be there for your partner and everything that comes with it. It takes every ounce of energy and strength you have.
Welcome to the Premium Mindset, the weekly podcast where homegrown entrepreneurs and business owners, Evan Ritchey and Cameron Bodden, share the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern entrepreneurship and reveal what really happens behind the scenes of their personal and professional lives. As owners of 2 of America's fastest growing and most disruptive companies, Coconut Cleaning and Green Mango Pest Control. Stay tuned for real stories, struggles, insight, and advice from real entrepreneurs in real time.
What's going on, and welcome to the Premium Mindset. I am excited for today's podcast. You will notice I do not have my regular co-host with me and my business partner and great friend Cameron, who is on vacation. And rather than canceling the podcast, I asked myself who I'd want on it with me for the first time, and I thought of you. So I got Randizzle himself to talk about his story, his origin of how he got to where he is with his food truck. And what I'm also very excited to talk about is what he's doing now to set himself up for success in the future. So with that being said, Randy, I'm super excited to have you on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. You know, when I launched the brand, it was just Randizzle's food truck. And not even probably a couple of weeks after launching the truck, the guys, my graphic team and my design team came up with Chef Randizzle. And so it's stuck. It's kind of been the staple kind of the company, of the brand and everything. As you notice, I got my faces planted on the truck, everything, yeah. which I have to give some love to those guys at Brand Smith and Prime Design, because those are the guys who sort of talk me into putting face on the truck and branding it in that way. You know,
at first it wasn't just you that wanted your face on the truck.
No, believe it or not, man. I kind of fly under the radar. Like, if you notice, even on a lot of my social media and everything that revolves around Randizzle's, you rarely see me. You always see the food.
Yeah.
You always see the burgers or the tacos, or you see a post. You rarely see me live or posting photos of Randy or anything, because I talk to people and I communicate to everyone through my food.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good that, people may know and they know who I am, but you don't see me out in front of the camera as much. I'd rather showcase the dynamic of what we actually do and what we serve to the customers.
Wow. Yeah. I love it, man. And I feel like even if people don't know you directly, I promise you, if you reflect, you have at some point driving around Arizona, saw a big line outside of a store and probably wondered to yourself, what are those people doing? I guarantee it was people waiting for Randizzle's food truck. I myself am guilty. I've stood in that line. The first time I'm like, what am I doing, man? Like hour and a half at Trevor's. I'm just like, okay, like I hope this is worth it, because the pictures on Instagram look amazing. About 90 minutes later, bro, me and the entire group I was with totally forgot how long we waited.
Yeah.
And just that experience that you have right up front with your people, with you right there, and then the food was just amazing. So I want to get into the origin, because you said your team kind of helped you conceptually with, the aesthetics of the brand.
For sure.
But walk me through, like, I don't know, was it in childhood, teenage years, 20s, 30s? Like, were you just really, because you're in your 30s now, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So at what point did you realize you had a knack for food and that was an interest of yours?
So it's crazy, because I believe that goes back to even childhood. Okay. I had some friends who I grew up with, and this was just a couple of years ago. He made a comment about how he used to love to cook even when we were like in junior high, and we'd make sandwiches and everything. We'd get home from school and I'd be the guy in there cooking for the whole group, not thinking that, a lot of this is going to come back years later and I'm going to be a guy in the culinary world.
Yeah.
I never envisioned myself as a chef. I was an athlete. I was in the fine wine industry for a while.
Okay.
Randizzle's came about because, and I'm just going to be open and honest about it, like, I didn't particularly care for my boss, and I didn't want to work for a company that I wasn't in tune and in sync with as far as the guys who were telling me what to do.
Okay.
And nothing against that company because we still have a great relationship now and we left on great terms. I just decided one day that I just wasn't going to work there anymore. And when that happened, 5 months later, I launched the brand, not knowing how it was going to be, what was going to happen. I had no restaurant experience. I had no, food truck experience, none of this. All this was just a figment of my imagination that I was going to try to bring together and try to be successful with it.
I love that. Walk me through, you said it goes potentially all the way back to childhood. What has been the evolution of your experience in serving food? Because you said subconsciously it was like, I would just get in the kitchen and start making sandwiches for everyone. Do you remember what it was about making food back then that you enjoyed so much? Was it like seeing them take their first bite? Was it just the process of making the food? Or was it that you didn't want your buddy making you a sandwich because it wasn't going to be as good as yours?
I think it was a little bit of both. It was just the fact that I think I just enjoyed being in the kitchen. And then I enjoyed being around the friends and then seeing their reaction.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Wichita Falls, Texas.
Okay.
So it's about an hour and a half north of Dallas. But growing up in that town, there was a small group of us who always got together after school or at some period during the day or whatever. And we'd always end up at someone's house. And whoever had food in their kitchen in the house, I was always the guy who would somehow go in the refrigerator and start making sandwiches or hot dogs or things like that. But I didn't realize the depth and the love for cooking until years later.
Okay.
And that was probably sometime around 04, 05. When I really started realizing, man, like I really enjoy like barbecuing and grilling and cooking, and not that I was ever going to try to open any restaurants or get in that world or anything like that. I just enjoyed the whole process of it. Matter of fact, we built a house back then that had a kitchen that was, man, it had everything in it, that it was a chef's dream, and I rarely use that kitchen. If only I had that kitchen now. Dang. You know what I mean? But the cool thing is I'm going to rebuild it all and do it all again and build another dream home with the kitchen and everything that comes in it to really showcase what I'm capable of as a chef. And Randizzle's is burgers and tacos. But I feel like I'm the type of guy who now I can cook anything.
Yeah.
Burgers and tacos is where I chose to go from a standpoint of let's go out into the real world and let's figure this thing out. And I chose those two because who doesn't like a burger? And then if you don't like a burger, who doesn't like a taco?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the best of both worlds. When you're talking about burgers and tacos, those are probably two of the most competitive categories ever, and somehow I've been fortunate enough and I've been blessed enough to kind of, be in that talk now of, with some of the other burger places up there and who have been known for, quality burgers and good burgers. But that was the goal, was to bring a gourmet burger or a gourmet taco to a market, and not just Arizona. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but to take it national. But I'd have to say that love really, it was more so of me just enjoying being in the kitchen and then being able to see, even at that age, my friends enjoy and like kind of what we've put together and what we've cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have so many questions for you, but so I'm curious, as you got in the kitchen more and as you were making food, is there a type of food that you have not been able to master, like Italian pasta? Like, is there any demographic of food where you're like, you know what, I've tried making that and for whatever reason?
Probably, maybe Italian food or even like Mediterranean Greek.
Okay.
I don't cook that probably enough. I don't challenge myself in those areas enough to really probably fully get it. We've done a couple of things though in both of those realms that have turned out amazing. I've got this bolognese dish that's out of this world, but it's someone else's recipe that I take and I kind of master it. But that, and then we do some chicken shawarma, or we'll do like some gyros or something like that. But I don't spend a lot of time in that realm. I think it's also because I'm not a big pasta guy. I enjoy certain types of Italian food, but I'm not a big pasta guy. And then from a Greek standpoint, I love eating it, but some of the preparation and everything that goes into that type of food, I don't have the time and don't want to do the marinating and everything that comes with that too, But those are two styles two foods that I love eating. I just don't spend a lot of time myself cooking those foods.
I noticed you said that you don't challenge yourself enough there. In what ways in the kitchen do you challenge yourself now with having something that you know the market loves? In addition, you can make that they would also love, and kind of testing those limits.
I think the beautiful thing about being a chef is the creativity that you can bring to something. And I think for me, that's been my niche in the burger realm, is creating a burger. And I'm not saying that I'm the first to create it, but I like to think that I put a little bit more creativity in something that may be already out there, but let Randizzle put his spin on it. Maybe I add a sauce to it, or I add grilled onions to it. I didn't go to culinary school, so I'm not in a box or a shell where people have taught me what I can do and what I can't do in the culinary world. So I kind of blend and meld together flavors that maybe a normal person or someone probably wouldn't. Like for instance, we have this veggie style burger that it's sauteed mushrooms and avocado and cheese, and it doesn't make sense in probably the real chef world. But like I said, I didn't go to culinary school, so I don't have those restrictions. I'll push the limits a little bit more with the customers, not so far to where they'll say, no, I don't really want to try that, but at least, capture their interest enough to where they say, you know what, let me try that. I've never tried anything like that before. Let me try it. And then if you can appeal to them in that way, then you've captured them. And not only in just a veggie burger, but they may be willing to try something else too. And I think for us, that's our niche, is you look at the menu and the left side competes with all of the standard burger places, the In-N-Outs, the Shake Shacks, the bacon, the double, the triples, all that. And then you get to the right side, and that's the adventurous side. Those are for the burger enthusiasts, the foodie people, the guys who are willing to try a PB&J burger or a Hatch green chili burger or King or Kong, and we'll get into kind of how we come up with the names a little bit later too.
Yeah,
I like to chat about that too. But I think for us, that's our niche, is not only do I meld those flavors together that maybe a normal person wouldn't, I bring them together in such a way that I don't push the customer too far, but it's right there, right in their wheelhouse, to where they'll say, I'll try that. And when they try it, it works, man.
I love listening to how you describe that process. So when I started dating Kate, I'm a big box brand, kind of like Chili's. I'm very simple, man.
For sure.
She's not. She refuses. She refuses to go to anywhere that's like sold out. And so I'm curious for you, because I'm sold on that process, and not only listening to the chef and how they've gone about it, but how have you said, okay, I've experimented, I've tested this, I like this burger as it is, but I've tried all the ones you named. So how do you know when you're like done with a burger and that's going to go on the menu?
It's funny that you ask, because there's things that I've put on the menu that I didn't even taste them first. So like, for instance, that veggie burger I talked about, we didn't have a veggie burger when we first launched the truck. We didn't have a PB&J burger when we first launched the truck. We didn't have a Hatch green chili when we first launched the truck. Like, the menu was a lot more condensed, but I had people coming asking for these burgers. Hey, do you have something with spice? Hey, do you have a PB&J burger? Hey, why don't you have a veggie burger? And people were constantly asking for them. And so one day there was a woman who was coming to my truck, and she came a few times, and she always asked for a veggie burger, and I never had one. So I said, hold on. I had mushrooms, I had avocado, I had everything else. I said, you know what? Let's throw this thing together, and I think it's going to work. Like, I didn't taste it, didn't do anything. I just put it together and gave it to her. And she came back after they were done eating and said it was the best veggie burger she had ever had. So then I started thinking, like, okay, let me just leave it on the menu. And so I brought it to the menu, and I didn't taste it for probably 3 weeks later. And when I tasted it, I go, okay, now I can see why, like, this whole thing works. But when I look at everything that we do from a quality standpoint, from the bun, even down to the mayo, the lettuce, the tomato, the pickle, the onion, the avocado, how can you go wrong if you set yourself up for success with the ingredients? And I really feel like for us, that's why we've made such a huge splash so quickly, is I'm all about the quality. It's every time you come to that truck, it's got to taste like that. It's got to look like that. those photos on my Instagram, those are actual burgers before they go out the window. So that when you see it, that's what the burger is going to look like when you come to the truck. I'm not going to present you with something that looks all fancy and great.
And
then you come to the truck, it
and
has
a paid ad and commercial, and it's just not
no.
real.
95% of those images are burgers before they go out the window. I snap a picture of them, or before we wrap it and put it in the box, we'll shoot a picture of it. Because to me, that's the real marketing power behind whatever it is you're trying to sell. I can't present you with something that looks all fancy and great, and then you come to the truck and it looks nothing like it, you know? So that's been one of the phases. But to answer your question, a lot of times it's just me thinking, what do I like to eat? What am I willing to eat? And I'm not crazy adventurous, but I'm not crazy conservative either. I'm probably right in the middle somewhere. But those burgers you mentioned, PB&J was another one. Like I said, I was against that burger.
Yeah. I'm
like, I'm not going to put peanut butter and jelly on a burger and sell it. From Randizzle's is not doing it. And later I find out there's a cult-like following of people who go and they look for PB&J burgers only. And everyone would come to the truck asking for one. So I started brainstorming and I put together this PB&J burger. Same thing. Put it out there for a few days, and then me and my sous chef, Chandler, decided to try it. We cut it in half, and we took a bite of it, and we didn't even say anything. We just looked at each other like the look on our face told it all. And we ate the half. I ate my half. He ate his half, and he goes, "You got to put this on the menu." And the next day, it was on the menu, and that was probably maybe 4 to 6 months after we opened. And that's been a staple on the menu since then. And it's probably top 3 burgers as far as sales, you know, up there with the Hatch and the Randy or the Randall. The Randy is the burger that's named after my daughter. And that burger was named after her long before I tragically lost her. But it's funny because she would always tell everyone, like, I don't know why my dad named that burger after me. I don't even like that burger, you know. But it was funny, the stories that she would joke about and tell the story. But I named it after her because I knew how good the burger was.
Yeah.
And it was one of my favorite burgers to eat just in general.
Yeah.
That's probably the top 1-2 burger on the truck. And then it battles with the Hatch and the PB&J after that. Like I said, the mark of, I really feel like, really good chefs is how creative can you be without going too far, you know, and then taking that customer too far to where no one wants to taste it. And so we've been able to capture and been able to handle that because everything we've sent out on the menu thus far has pretty much been a hit. But it goes back to what I told you earlier. If I set myself up for success with all these quality ingredients, it's really kind of hard to mess it up. You know, my margins probably aren't as high as a lot of other places, but I operate on volume. I want that 2-hour line. You know, it's unfortunate that people have to wait that long, but they're waiting because of the quality and the integrity of what we do.
Yeah.
That's something that I will always stand by is the quality and the integrity of it. Even when we do start to expand outside of Arizona and looking into other markets, I want that burger to taste the same in Los Angeles as it does in New York.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a plan to make that happen, and I know how to make it happen. It's just a matter of bringing it all together in such a way from a distribution standpoint that everybody gets what they need to get in a timely manner, timely fashion, and all that.
I want to get into that in a little bit. I get choked up a little. You were talking about your daughter. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I do want to get into, you know, how you plan on taking what you have now, not compromising quality over $1 or whatever it might be, but walk me through the family dynamics for you, because a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs. You know, for the audience members who are like, man, I just don't think I can leave my 9 to 5 to start my dream because I got a kid and I got to pay for this, and this. Like, what, you know, what did it look like for you, and what's your advice for them out there that say, hey, I can't start my dream because I got my kids or my family?
You know, I think that a lot of people have the same goals and same desires that I do from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from a business standpoint. Even back to years ago when I first started a family, I've always put my family first. All of my goals, all of my dreams. Like I said, I came up in the football world as an athlete, professional athlete for a while. But once I started having kids, that goal and that dream didn't really matter anymore. I'd take a 9 to 5 or work somewhere, less to make sure that I could wake up with my kids and be there to be a father, to be there for my partner, for everything that came. So I did that for years, for many years. And that's why I also didn't start Randizzles until 2019. But I didn't know Randizzles was going to be Randizzles. I didn't have that idea, but I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset.
Okay.
In Arizona, but there used to be a designer clothing boutique called Moody Blues. And one was down in Chandler, right next to Dolce Spa. It was a designer
Over
boutique.
by Chandler Fashion.
Over by Chandler Fashion Square. So that was another figment of my imagination. Okay, me and my ex-wife, that was our company, but I came up with that idea and I had to sell it to her because the agreement was we couldn't open a business unless we agreed on it together.
Is that brand? Is it financially? Is it what needed to be agreed upon before you pulled the trigger on the business?
I think it was more so just experience and belief that we could realistically make this happen.
Gotcha.
And I think when I sold it to her the first time, we had no retail experience. We had no idea what we were doing in that world or anything. So I had to come up with a plan to put a business plan together that made sense to her in reference, if we do this, then we can realistically do it. And I didn't know how we were going to do it, but I knew that it was possible and I knew Arizona needed it. Because to think of something and to dream of something, when you see someone else doing it, then it gives you the power and the belief now that if they can do it, I can do it. Okay. And so from the question like you asked earlier, for someone and for others out there who want to take that leap of faith, but who are just a little bit hesitant and fearful of it, you have to look at everyone else out there. Shake Shack, In-N-Out, Hop Dottie, Zimburger, all these huge companies. What's the difference between the guys that started those companies and me? We're both human. We both start with a dream. We both have to start somewhere. And so like for me, knowing that there was other people before me who did it. And when I first launched the company, my goals wasn't as big as they are now. I grew into, once I started to see what we had, then I started to have these huge goals and say, okay, the demand for it started to increase like crazy. And then I realized that I could take it and be just as big as some of those brains. All I have to do is just do it.
Right.
Not knowing how completely, but I really truly believe that if you take one step towards something that you really truly believe in, the universe will take 2 steps back towards you. That's how I've lived my life, is the belief that I could do things and operate as long as I really, really, truly believed it and they were realistic. Something realistic in a goal of a stance of everything that I've done so far. I've been able to do it, but not also compromise the family and those things. And so like for me, I've always put a lot of it on hold. And that's why, as I stated earlier, I didn't launch Randizzles until 2019 because my youngest son, Kai, well, he was 16 at the time I launched it, but he was driving and he was independent and he was a junior in high school, and he didn't need me to drive him to practice and be everywhere and do those things. And so I waited until those times to where I had the time to really do it.
Yeah.
Because that family is the most important aspect in anything that we'll ever do. Don't get me wrong, the business is great and that side of things is great, but the family is the most important dynamic of it all. You mentioned earlier you have a 7-year-old daughter. My heart still hurts to this day. I've never been so heartbroken in my life losing her. And I can talk about it and I get emotional and I hurt, but I don't suppress anything when it comes to her, because the family dynamic and how I was raised, I have 5 brothers and a sister, and it was always about the family. And so I was taught that at an early age, and that's how I've always operated. But losing Randy really changed things in certain life and things that maybe I took for granted and things like that. But now she's my motivation. She's my rock that I need when I'm having a moment or having a bad day or something's not going right. Like, I lean on her because I know she's with me. I honestly don't think I could do what I've done without her, and it's tragic that I don't have her, but I lean on her for a lot of support in just life, because to lose a child, it takes every ounce of strength you have to continue to go through life every day and to wake up every day and to be there for your other kids and to be there for your partner and everything that comes with it. It takes every ounce of energy and strength you have. And some days you don't have strength. You don't know how you're going to do it. And that's when you lean on the family and the loved ones. And I'm blessed because I do have a huge support system. All my brothers, I have a great relationship with my mother still to this day.
Are they in Texas?
They're in Texas,
okay.
Yeah, and it's deep. It's really deep. And to this day, like, I've never met my biological father. And so, like, for me, I always wanted to be there for my kids. I wanted to always be there for them. And I look back on it and I don't know the full story on why I never met him, or I know where he is. I know his name. I could probably find him nowadays with everything that's on. And who's to say I won't at some point? But the family dynamic of my kids was super important to me because I never met my father. I wanted my kids to say, oh, Dad was here for this. And Dad, not only was he here, but he was like present here. He wasn't just here, to say, oh, Dad's around, but Dad was at games and Dad was at all the Disneyland trips and Dad took us fun times. And there's thousands of photos of the kids when they never even knew a camera was in their face. Like, I wanted those childhood memories for them that I didn't have. And like I said, losing her really, really shook me to my core and it was in the midst of everything I had going on with Randizzles. This happened almost 3 years ago. And I had just launched the brand a year and a half or so prior to that. So the family dynamic of it, you certainly have to take that into consideration, but you also have to compromise in those areas with your partner. If she doesn't fully back you and believe in that project at that time, then you have to find a way to convince her, or you got to find something else. It could go either way. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where, from my experience, that's how I handled it. And that's how I operate still today. And it's crazy because Kai is almost 20, my youngest son, and I have a 6-month-old right now, baby girl. And not that she's here to replace Randy, because Randy is irreplaceable.
Right.
But just the fact that I was against not having kids. I didn't want more kids, right. And I ultimately made the decision to have one more. And Gianna is a blessing. It's crazy how in certain ways God works, but Randy and Gianna are similar in a lot of ways. But like I said, she didn't come as to replace Randy in either way. She came because me and my partner decided that we wanted to have a child.
Yeah.
And she has been absolutely a blessing. And to kind of add to what you were saying about family, my partner now, she fully backs me in Randizzles. I fully back her in her business. She has her own business. I support her in any way I can. She supports me in any way I can. Our dynamic works great now. It works perfect. But you do need that support from the other half if you're going to be successful, because you can't be stressing about what's going on at home and really be efficient on this side of it.
I appreciate you sharing, man. I heard a quote one time that half of everyone you meet is going through the most difficult time of their life, and you're usually half wrong, meaning most everybody that you meet is going through a difficult time. If you don't mind, could you go a little further and walk me through your life at the time of her passing maybe a couple days prior. And then there's a lot of people out there that go into business and maybe just, work their regular 9 to 5, and they have these
For sure.
life circumstances happen. What did you learn about yourself during that time? And how did it help you come back even stronger?
I think the biggest thing that I learned from it is that no one is exempt. You can be here one day and the next day you could totally be gone. It really, really put that into perspective for me on how precious just life is in general. Losing Randy, my kids were supposed to bury me. I was not supposed to lay her to rest. And it really, really challenged me in some areas of, can I actually go on without her? But those are the moments when I leaned on family, friends, my mother, and like I said, my older brother was more like a father figure to me. So those two really, really helped me through a lot of the most difficult periods because they knew me when I was just a little boy too. They knew me and seen me grow from that guy to the person that I've become today. And going through those challenges, like I said, the biggest thing that it just made me more thankful, and it made me more aware of, man, how precious just life is on a daily basis, because you never know. And even people today who don't know Randy's story, they see me on the truck and they see the burgers and they see the food and they see everything that comes with it. But a lot of people are not aware of what I went through with Randy. Yeah. A lot of people aren't aware of other struggles that, we've all had in life. I believe some of those struggles, like you said, there was a quote, without struggle, there is no success. And I really feel like a lot of people out there who have been successful in the business world realm, they've all had struggles. They've all had challenges. And for the longest, I felt like I was the only person who was dealing with that tragedy when there were millions of other people who had dealt with it, people who were going through it. But at the time, you feel like you're the only one who's living this nightmare. And then I had other people who had lost a child reaching out to me whom I've never met before. They just heard the story or seen it, or someone told them about it. And I had all these people reaching out to me as well, who we'd have conversations about it, and they'd share things, how they got through it, and, faith and strength and everything that comes with it. But that was probably biggest challenges that I'll ever face in life, I believe, was dealing with that. But you get through it. And now each day I've told myself that the grief and the hurt and the pain and everything that comes with that, it's never going to go away. I'm going to deal with that. I've told myself for the rest of the time that I'm here on earth. Right. I've welcomed it because I don't suppress anything when it comes to Randy. I named her after me. She was Randy with an I. I was Randy with a Y. And it's like you have this bond and you have this relationship with all your kids, but not knowing that you are going to deal with something like this in life. There's nothing in life that can prepare you. Me coming up in, the football world and sports really teaches you discipline and accountability and character, and you overcome all this adversity and all these things is what sports teaches. It really does. I really feel like sports does build character to a certain degree because you have to be held accountable. But the accountability and everything that comes with that, all those years of that, it had nothing. It didn't even touch anything when it came to me dealing with this and getting over and getting through this. So like you said, to the average person out there, we don't know what they're going through. We don't know their struggles. We don't know what's happening at home and everything, and I think just as a person and as a human in general, that everyone needs to be more sympathetic to life in general. It doesn't cost you one single dime to be kind to someone, staring down, an arrow, or someone's mistreating you. And I'm not saying you become a doormat or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, kindness is free. It really is. And for whatever reason, we are a nation that we don't believe in it as much. It's one of those things where people should learn to value people a lot more without having to go through a tragedy for you to get it. And I feel like for me, I understood that side of it because my mother and I have my grandmother and some people who really instill certain values of me and kindness and everything. But a lot of people out there, they have to experience something like that before they get it and before they're willing to bend or give in or just to be kind to someone in general. And man, I could share tons of stories about that. It warms my heart sometimes just for someone who doesn't even know me, just to be kind in the sense of man, that burger was amazing. Man, I love what you're doing. Man, heard your story. Man, keep going. Like people who I don't even know. Yeah. And I really think like it's a reflection also of what we do, but it's also like a culture that I want to create, and not just around burgers, but just around people, energy, vibes, everything. And there's times where my vibe, my energy is here, but you don't know it. I try and wear it as much as I can. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy. I'm joyful at times. I have a wonderful partner now. Have Gianna, and she has a little 5-year-old daughter, and my other kids are older. Kai's almost 20. Quentin, my oldest son, he's 32. I've got 2 grandbabies, my brothers and everybody. So like from a family standpoint, it's a unique bond.
Yeah.
We lost, the glue. And Randy, even though she was only 21 at the time, she'll be 24 this year, she was the glue.
Yeah.
She was the one that held everyone together. And my ex-wife and Randy was the wedge with everybody, or not really the wedge, but she was the glue that kept everyone together. Even though we wasn't together anymore, Randy was old enough to understand that I can keep this thing kind of to where we all get along and everybody can still be fine, okay, even though mom and dad aren't together, but mom loves me, dad loves me.
Yeah.
But from a family standpoint, like you said, for someone who's out there who wants to start a dream and to take a leap of faith, you got to just take that step. You do. Guess what? You may fail, but there's a 100% chance that you won't if you don't even try.
Right.
At least if I take that step, I got a 50% chance that I can do it. But if I don't take that first step, it's 100% chance that I won't succeed in what I want to do. For me, it was taking a leap of faith, but it was also me waiting till the right time, to where the family dynamic worked out, to where my son was older, and I had a little bit more experience, being in Moody Blues and being successful in that area from a business standpoint. But anyone who wants to do it, you just have to make the commitment, not only to what it is you're going to do, but to yourself. Because Randizzle's could have easily been a bust.
Yep.
I had no idea that it was going to be where we were today. Yeah. My second event, I had no customers for 20 minutes. I pulled that truck up and had 0 customers for 20 to 25 minutes.
But every minute felt like an hour.
Every minute, we're sitting there thinking like, man, where's everybody at?
Grills are hot.
I had nobody, no customers. And I started to give away samples. I started making burgers and making grilled cheese, and I'd have this platter of all kind of make it look really good and appealing and sauce, and I'd go in and start working the room. Hey man, would you like a sample? Hey man, I just launched this food truck, give it a whirl. And before you know it, we'd have people starting to line up a little bit, and they'd come to the truck and they didn't even look at the menu. They'd just be like, hey, I want what he brought in. Hey, what was that he brought in? And I did that for probably a good 3-4 months. A
lot of reciprocity and a lot of giving.
100%.
You were talking about like taking that first step. Do you remember the first day back on the van after she had passed?
Yeah, I took several months off after that too. When that happened, I think I took about 4.5, almost 5 months off. And the customers, the people, they all got it. They knew what was going on and they knew what I was dealing with. But I remember coming back and it was more of people not coming for burgers. They were coming to support me. I don't think I cried so much in a 3-hour period because we cooked and we did an event, but it wasn't about the burgers. It was about them coming to just show support. And I remember standing on the grill, like trying to cook burgers, and my sous chef, Chandler, he just comes and he takes over for me. I knew at some point that I had to get back because that's one thing about Randy too, is she didn't let anyone quit. Like even my youngest son, Kai, he wanted to give up on baseball and he was really good at it. And I really feel like what he went through with her really, really, it just left him in such a place that he just didn't have the motivation to play anymore. And this was why he was in high school, but we talked him into playing through high school because Randy, she wasn't going to allow anyone to quit, But yeah, it was more just about the support, man. And I remember that went on for months. I still get people who come up to my truck today. Hey man, I went to school with Randy. Hey man, I knew Randy. Hey man, I didn't get a chance to talk to you back then. I knew Randy. But it's a reflection of who she was and how many people she touched and the story behind her and why I feel like I've been really, really successful is I have been able to overcome that, going through that and still be able to operate that truck. And I think that resonates with certain people too, as a customer, as someone who says, wow, this guy has walked through the flame, but he's still kind of here trying to, build this business and grow this business and everything that comes with it. But yeah, I do remember posting that I was coming back out with the truck, man, and then doing that event where it was just an emotional event more than it was us going out to serve or to make money or anything like that. It was just about getting back out and then the people showing support in that way. And it's amazing how when you really treat something and you treat people a certain way, I think it comes back tenfold. And I think that's just kind of how I've always operated, is I've always just tried to be kind and a people's person. And I really think like a lot of that success with Randizzle's comes from how we operate, but it's also the quality, like I said earlier, because people can love Randy or think Randy's a nice guy and everything, but if that burger's not good, they're not going to wait 2 hours. I'm sorry. They'll come when it's, convenient for them, but it's more about everything that we do. It's like you said, Kate didn't like certain restaurants. She wanted to go where the chefs are walking around and all. And I do that now. I come off the truck, I talk to people. Hey man, how was your burger? Hey man, how's it going? Hey, thanks for the support. Hey, what can I do different? Hey man, did you like? And I try to have that interaction with people so people don't think that Randy's above anybody. I'm not. I'm successful because of you guys. Okay. And I want to make sure that that's clear. And that's why I do that. I turn around and look out that window and joke with people or wave, or somebody takes a picture, or, hey man, can you come outside to take a picture? Or like I try and make it an experience versus them just coming for a burger, but I also want that burger to be one of the best burgers that they've ever had as well. But to answer your question from a family standpoint, and how do you come back from something like that, is you just you make your mind up and then you find strength, in God and in the fact that I know that Randy, I know what she would want me to do and how she would want me to handle it. And so I've tried to just use that strength and the courage and everything from my relationship with her, and then put everything I can, like every single ounce of Randy, in the Randizzles. I have to share this story because not shortly after I came back, maybe a year after I came back, my truck broke down. Okay. And I had to replace the whole motor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Truck broke down. I had to replace the whole motor. And I put it out on social media that, look, we're going to be down. I got to cancel events, my motor, this and that. And I literally had customers and people trying to create GoFundMes to pay for the truck. And of course I said no. I funded it and I paid for everything myself, and we were back up and running within probably a month or so. But for them to even consider it, that showed me and it told me that you just have to continue what you're doing. Don't change a thing. Continue what you're doing. Treat people the way you treat them. Keep making a good product. Don't compromise the integrity in any way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why for us, we've had the success. And I have not raised prices since I opened.
I appreciate you sharing all that, man. And,
Yeah.
and I'm just grateful, one, that you continue to persevere and you took that step back on the truck, and
Sure.
You've continued that vision. It's like, you mentioned you lost the glue, but it seems like you didn't lose the glue.
Yeah, for sure.
She's been with you and
For sure.
in helping you. And, maybe a quick pivot here. I feel like in business, one thing or a struggle that we've had is, standard operating procedures, right? As a business owner and founder, I started the cleaning process for Coconut, and then I was ready to bring someone else on. I'm like, wait, I don't have anything written down for how I do what I do.
Oh, yeah.
How does one like yourself go about having the secret sauces and the secret, this is your touch? Like, how do you get comfortable sharing that and creating, your own standard operating procedures, not only for what you have now, but I'm sure whoever you're working with to scale
For
is
sure.
saying, McDonald's success is, one, owning the realty, but also a 14-year-old can go in and start
sure.
working day one
For sure.
because everything's right there for what
sure.
to do. So how have you been able to share your secrets, and what are you doing now to get everything written down to help you scale so that someone in Georgia can meet you, learn about the company, and then invest and start their own?
It's funny that you asked that, because that's where we're like knee deep into that phase side of it. Operating agreement,
NDA,
NDAs,
yeah.
investor presentation, pro formas, capitalization tables, forecasting,
Yep.
everything. Like, I'm knee deep in that right now. And it's like you said earlier, when I mentioned how I let my food speak for us, I'm not out in front of the camera.
Right.
If you notice, there's not videos of me out there making sauce.
Right.
There's not videos of me actually making the burgers. If you're not at the truck and you don't see me cooking, the odds of you seeing what I'm doing and how we're prepping it and how we're doing it, it's just, you're not going to see that right now, And so those are things that I've kept the lid on, and I've kept quiet. And honestly, I'm the only one, even my crew that works for me, don't really even know how to make the sauce.
Oh boy,
They don't know how to.
man.
They don't really even know how to blend the seasonings that I mix for burgers. They don't know how to. There's about 3 or 4 different sauces we have, but they don't really know the intricacies of making them. I don't keep them a secret from them. I think that they're just so caught up in when we're prepping and when we're going, they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But that's something that I specifically keep a lid on.
Yeah.
Until I can get it to a point to where I can mass produce it with companies who have the secrets, who can do it. But also, I learned something from watching. You ever seen that show on TV? It's called The Food That Built America.
No.
Okay. If you've never watched it, you should maybe check some of them
we'll
out.
have to.
Okay. Because the guy's name was Saul Price. Saul Price is the guy who started Price Club. Okay. Which is now Costco.
Yeah.
Okay. But when he first started Price Club, any and everybody who asked him about it, he gave them all the secrets. He gave them all the details, how to start it, what I did, how to do this, how to do that. And those guys he told those secrets to were Walmart, Sam Walton, Kmart's, all the big box retail people he told them to, which the guy Costco was his right-hand man, who ultimately left and started Costco.
Interesting.
So when they asked him towards the end, before he sold all the price clubs to the owner of Costco,
Yeah.
and he sold them to him because they were partners in the beginning. They worked together. Saul Price was like CEO, and I can't remember the guy's name who owns Costco, but he was right underneath him.
Yeah.
But he sold them to him because Sam Walton wanted to buy them, Walmart wanted to buy them, but that's why all the price clubs are Costco's. But when they asked him right before he sold them, hey, what would you have done different? He goes, I wish I had worn a condom. Okay, sorry. But what he meant by that was, I wish I would have kept a lid on a lot of it, because he gave it to Sam Walton, and Sam Walton goes out and opens Sam's Club. He gives it to the other Kmart. All these big box companies come on, and ultimately Saul Price was driven out of business.
Yeah.
Okay. But I keep it a secret, and not even keep it a secret. It's just that I don't want that out there yet. I'll help, and I've helped other food trucks. I've helped other businesses. I'll help in that way. I just won't give you my recipes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to tell you how to make a PB&J. Now, if you see it, you buy it, and you can put it together and you can create everything like that, that's totally different. But as far as me giving that recipe to someone and saying, hey, this is how I do it, I just don't give it away right now. But that's also why you don't see me on the camera making burgers and expressing it and showing it and everything. Now, at some point down the road, if that's something we can do or we want to do once we grow it, and then I have propriety like ownership of these things like that, then you'll see it. But until then, I can't give it away right now.
Yeah.
And I have some people who come to my truck from time to time, and him and his wife, one time he caught me, I was off the truck, and he says, hey man, like, come here for a second. He goes, what are you doing on that? Like, how are you making these burgers? You know? And he says, we've been coming to your truck. We bought burgers. We've studied them. I went and bought a pan. I went and bought lettuce. I went and bought beef. I went and bought everything that I thought I'm going to make this Randizzle burger. And he's like, it just didn't quite come out the same. And so I can't give that information away just yet.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that it's a huge secret, but I've learned from people who have done it before me that let's just keep it all in-house right now. And then once we start to franchise and once we start to grow it in that way, everything will be in place.
Yeah.
You'll have everything you need to do what we do. Okay. Not that you'll have every entity recipe. I'll ship you sauce in boxed and bottles, and I'll ship you, billionaire sauce or everything, because it'll be made and bottled somewhere else. But right now, I learned from watching some of those big companies who are Fortune like 500 companies right now, how they started out in the beginning and the mistakes they made. And so for me, I take all that into my little mental Rolodex, and I keep it and I store it there on how we operate. And it's not that we're private, because if you come to the truck, you look through that window, you can see me cooking.
Yeah.
And I finally now have an NDA that I can send out to give to people
that are interested,
and we're finally going to get that process rolling probably in the next week to raise capital so we can go out and launch 2 or 3 Randizzles simultaneously.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. You had to, learn all that in all your different experiences. My mind just goes to SpongeBob and Krusty Krab, man.
Big time.
Plankton always wanted that recipe. You could
That's
never
it.
get it, man.
That's
That's
it.
all I needed to watch to know. You don't share
That's
those
it.
secrets, man.
That's it, man. So like because if I give that out, and not that, don't get me wrong, Randizzles we're not the only, gourmet burger out there. There's some other really good burgers out there, but something about what we're doing is making a splash right now. Okay. And so some of those secrets, some of those intricacies on what we do, I can't just hand them out if I want to grow into who we want to be.
Right.
If I didn't have the desire to be, big business, and all I wanted was to do food trucks and just a handful, had no dreams, no goals, I'd be handing those secrets out. I would have created a way for you to come buy a burger package from me that has everything in it. You take it home and you cook it yourself type thing. But I have some huge goals, some huge, huge goals. And so until we start to really chip away and check off that list, then I think I really have to be as private as I can as far as what we give away and what we don't right now.
I love it. And I think what's great, Randy, is even when all that's out and NDAs are signed, no one's ever going to have that background and experience and, that Randy experience.
And knowing exactly what he did to start this company.
Yeah.
And how long to cook a burger on one side and what specific beef is he really using.
Yep.
And then what bun is he really using?
I was going to ask about the bun, but I'll ask off.
No, it's okay. No, man, it's a French brioche, and I really think the difference between that one and a normal brioche is this one's just more lighter and more airy. Because I really feel like, and I think I'm gonna sort of give away a secret now, but I really feel like a lot of burger places, they don't focus on the bun enough. It's either too much bun or too little of a bun.
Yeah.
And too much bun, to me, I don't care how good the beef or what you put in it is going to be. If the bun's off, the burger's off.
Yeah.
To me. And it starts with the bun because you're going to put everything inside the bun.
Yeah.
Most people are going to bite it with the bun. And then guess what? If they don't like the bun, they're going to take the bun off. But if they like that bun, they're going to hold it and say, oh, man, like, okay, I usually don't eat the bun, but I can eat this one. I always joke, with people who always order no bun. I always ask them, hey, are you gluten-free? Like, why aren't you ordering the bun, And they'll be like, oh, I just don't really like the bun. Randizzle, we got great buns. We have really good buns, And there's, okay, well, let me try it. But to me, it starts with the bun. And because, like I said, it is a French brioche, it's imported. I think they bring it in through Canada and then it's shipped here. But that bun, it just toasts up perfect. And it's soft and you can hold the burger. It don't fall apart.
Yeah.
And it gets a little soggy when we wrap it and you got an hour ride, if it's sitting for an hour. But there's not a lot of buns out there that'll hold up to, us putting a triple patty on it with all the juice and everything that they fall apart.
Right.
This bun usually holds up. It does its job, man. It does its purpose. And they're not cheap. That's the one thing about those buns. They are way pricier than probably what the normal burger shop's using. But once again, that's the difference between us and them. And I can't say it enough. Like it's not a knock against anyone who's using a different bun or anything, a different ingredient of beef. But how we operate, I just operate a little different. It doesn't mean your buns are bad. I'm not saying your buns are bad. Like, I'm not saying
it's definitely a tagline somewhere in all this.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, somewhere on
Randizzles, we got the good buns.
That's it. We got good buns, boy. But I'm not saying their buns aren't great. It's just for me, how I build. This is how we build a burger at Randizzles.
Yeah. I love it, man. So in closing, could you kind of tell us where Randizzles is at now? Because I love the story. I love where you're at. And I'd say it's probably been the last 6-7 months that I've gone and stood in line, and you post the weekly schedule. Every time I see a private event, I'm like, dude, we need to have that private event. But what does the next 12 to 24 months look like for you and your expansion? 90 locations in the U.S., 10 in Canada.
Yep.
What does that look like for you? And yeah, tell us where you're at.
And so like the goal of 100 locations was we're only focusing on North America right now. Like you said, 90 in the US, 10 in Canada. The investor presentation and everything pitch deck, I'm going to have that all available. It's going to be ready to go out probably in the next week or so. But the goal is to grow it into something like that. We're going to launch the first brick and mortar here before the end of this year. We should have the first one open. We're looking at Chandler, Gilbert, Queen Creek. It'll definitely be in the East Valley.
Heck yeah.
We're based in the East Valley,
yeah.
So it just makes sense for the first one to be here. Then we'll go to Old Town Scottsdale, and then we'll go to downtown Phoenix. And then that gives us 3 locations. And
proven concept.
3 proven concept, everything. And then the truck can still run too, maybe surrounding areas that we haven't been able to get to as often. Maybe we'll go more towards the West Side, Central Phoenix, North Phoenix type thing from a truck standpoint. But the downtown Phoenix location will also bridge that gap, because I feel like people will drive from the West Side or from Central Phoenix into downtown Phoenix. They just won't go from the West Side all the way to like Gilbert or Plain Creek or somewhere. But some huge goals. Like I said, it's a venture capitalist deal all the way. We get a few of them open, and then we'll look to maybe bring private equity in or someone else in to really grow it and to blow it up. Who can take it from 5 to 8 locations to 100 locations within a 2-year period. But everything that I've put on the table from a goal standpoint, it's realistic.
Yeah.
It's not something that's so far-fetched that it's unattainable.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think the burgers are great, but I could think they're great as much as I want. If the customer doesn't think they're great, then I can't have 100 locations.
Yeah.
From a customer standpoint, and from that, they've told me that that burger will stand on its own against any burger out there. We're going to start to target, those 30 cities that I have, where I'd like to do 3 locations in those surrounding cities, to where we can probably grow it to do that. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, for what's possibly can be in store for later. If you look at, I always reference Sam Fox, Fox Concepts. They had all these concepts, and he did a really good job of branding and marketing and building this portfolio. Well, Randizzle's, the burger bar, is under that umbrella. But I really feel like, because we've been so successful with Randizzle's and we've delivered from a hamburger, cheeseburger standpoint, I really feel like we could create any concept we wanted now, and the people will at least try it, and then once they try it, maybe there's another concept out there like the tacos. We didn't talk much about those today, but I'm going to do taco shops. The tacos are going to come off the menu at Randizzle's, and I'm going to do Randy's, named after my daughter, taco shops by Randizzle's, so that people know that it's still associated with the truck as well. We don't do the taco menu as much, but some people like the tacos better than the burgers. All of that's under that Randizzle's umbrella. And I'm going to look to launch that first taco shop, hopefully before the end of this year.
Wow.
Also,
And as you grow and as you expand, a struggle that I've experienced we call it kind of wearing the hats. I wore the hat of technician, then I wore the hat of, salesman on the phone, then I wore the hat of commercial salesperson. For someone that it loves being in the kitchen, are you torn with becoming a businessman, or are you staying in the kitchen and you got other people that are going to scale this thing and grow it up? Because Randy can only be at one location.
For sure.
So what's that dynamic look like for you, for someone who loves being there, loves making the food, but also has this passion to have it grow? What's that struggle been like for you, and what's the hat that you're going to wear over the next 6 to 12 months?
For the first location, I will still be heavily involved in the cooking and the training in every entity of it. Probably for those first 2 to 3 locations, I'll bounce from location to location, really getting that down from a cooking standpoint.
Gotcha.
But there's no doubt that I'm going to have to let go and really trust that I've hired the right people. And my goal is to create a culture behind Randizzle's, to where people want to come and work us. They want to come and work for us. They're saying, "Oh man, those guys they're having fun. It's the burgers are great. The energy's great." I want to create a culture so that we don't necessarily have to go out and find people. People are coming to find us.
Yeah.
The people who are coming out of culinary school, or the people who have this passion for cooking, because it's a lot easier for someone like that to bring them on board, and they're like sponges, and they have experience in the cooking world, and they have ideas, and they're creative too. And so you empower some of those people, and those are the people who you want to bring on that culture, so that once you grow and you start to expand into these bigger markets, you can still uphold that integrity.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not 100%, Maybe in Arizona, while I'm there for the first 3, we're at 100%.
Right.
But maybe LA's at 85%, okay, or 90%. And I really feel like as long as we're in that wheelhouse of that, I feel like that burger is still going to compete. But I'd like to be 95 to 99% everywhere we go. But that's a whole nother topic of self-distribution and setting up facilities to where we can get trucks to those facilities within 6 hours. So that's the goal, is eventually is self-distribution, so that I could supply every store with the same mayo, same sauce, same lettuce, same tomatoes, same beef, same everything, you know. But there's a lot of details and a lot of intricacies into making that burger the way it is and what it is. And I don't want to compromise that. Now, I know it's somewhere down the line, once it grows into this, just if it grows as big as I would like it to.
When it grows,
But we'll cross those bridges at the time it happens. But I really feel like the blueprint, and to do what we've done in this amount of time, now it's just, we have to replicate it and we have to just multiply. Because if we can do that, if I could get Randizzles to the masses, okay, then now 100 locations is nothing, you know. And I really think the way people have reacted here with just one food truck, I can only imagine what that energy and what that excitement is going to be when we start to deliver from a restaurant standpoint and from that side of things, where people don't have to wait 2 hours at a food truck just to get a burger. You know?
Randy, I am so excited to watch your journey, and I know that you're going to accomplish everything that you've already mentioned. For our audience, where can people stay tuned in to watch that journey and watch you grow?
So a lot of the process and everything we do goes on right now just via the truck and through social media. I really keep everyone updated as far as everything on social media.
Instagram,
Facebook, everything's under Randizzle's Food Truck.
Okay.
You can pretty much catch anything and everything that's happening with us on there. And guess what? If you're not able to catch me on there, you could always call me. You could always email me. You have all my information. I'll give you a business card or something that we can maybe post for those people who can't find me on social media or something like that. But the journey has been quite the journey so far. And this is only the beginning of what's really in store and what we're really capable of.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I know I've got my work cut out, but I also had my work cut out when I decided to launch this truck.
Yep.
You know, but it's like we talked about earlier, and to those people who are out there listening, who are contemplating, you know, opening a business or going into business for themselves, you know, really, really figure out if this is what you could see yourself doing for the next 20 years. And if it is, then all you have to do is take that one step. Okay. And like I said, the universe will take 2 steps, but you have to make the commitment. And the commitment means doing whatever it takes so that you can be successful and have a plan. Like for me, I had a plan on how to grow it and what to do. It's just like I have a plan now on where to go from here. Having a plan and then being able to execute is huge, huge. And listen to your customers, because they are the ones, they'll tell you exactly everything you need to know, especially if you're coming into the culinary world. But no, man, it was a pleasure. Like I appreciate you guys having me on today, and it was great. And maybe at some point down the road, once we start to expand and grow a little bit more, we'll come back on and we can give people an update on where we were and where it's going from there.
We're going to want to stay tuned, man. And you listen to the customer so well that, you know, you got peanut butter and jelly on a hamburger now.
For sure. So I do. I listen to them. I'll listen to them.
You apply what you teach. And Randy, we're super excited for you here at Height Farm, Green Mango Coconut. We're huge fans and we look forward to watching the success, man.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me.